I'm Liz Faublas, and this is Currents. In the heat of the conventions, a look at how voters view the fates of the two candidates. Plus, the powerful film is coming to DVD. I'll talk with one of the actors from For Greater Glory. And seeds of giving in this unique opportunity in Queens.
A project called Plant, Grow, and Give. It gives the opportunity for the guys and the girls who we serve to give back to the community. And we've done it in an innovative and creative way.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. It was Paul Ryan's turn on Thursday night as the vice presidential nominee took to the podium at the Republican National Convention in Tampa. During his speech, Ryan accepted his party's nomination as Mitt Romney's running mate and went on to focus on what he called the failures of President Barack Obama. Ryan also offered ways that he and Romney could solve the nation's problems. On Thursday, Mitt Romney formally accepts the presidential nomination during a speech in which political analysts say Romney intends to reclaim a positive narrative about his life's experiences. Well, with the RNC coming to an end and the Democratic National Convention set to get underway next Monday in Charlotte, religion and faith are a topic of interest. Cardinal Timothy Dolan will give the closing benediction at the RNC Thursday night. He's also accepted an invitation to give the closing prayer at the Democratic National Convention. Cardinal Dolan, who is Archbishop of New York and president of the U.S. Bishops' Conference, has said his appearances at both conventions would be prayerful, not political. Meantime, the faith of the two men vying for the White House has also garnered considerable attention. And for more on that, I spoke with Carrie Funk. She's senior researcher with the Pew Forum on Religion and Public Life. Carrie, it would appear overall, looking at the data, that concerns about the candidates' respective faiths are not really a priority for voters.
Yeah, what's really interesting about candidate religion this year is that we have a Mormon presidential candidate for the first time ever on a major party ticket. And in terms of President Obama, while a Protestant, he encounters a sizable minority of voters who misperceive his faith, making the role of religion and voter judgment a little more complex. Of course, when we look further, we're seeing that partisans tend to support their party candidate, and there's not a lot of movement between those two.
And I want to make it clear still, it's not to suggest this survey or anything in the survey that most voters are not placing importance on religious beliefs of a president. I mean, it is still a significant criterion when voters are actually vetting their candidate. Do you agree?
Sure. What's interesting is we find 2/3 of registered voters in the U.S. saying that having a president with strong religious beliefs is important to them. And in fact, Pew Research Center surveys going back to 2000 have found similar portions of the public saying this. So back in 2000 and 2004, 7 in 10 voters said that having a president with strong beliefs, religious beliefs, is important to them. So that has long been a criterion, and it seems, and people say it's important.
Let's dig a little deeper into the numbers. Data shows that Romney's Mormon faith is not lost on the majority. There's 60%, they know he is Mormon, and that hasn't even changed since the last time you took a poll during the GOP primaries. Why do you think this is important?
Right. Well, as you know, about 1% of the general public are Mormons, so it's not a particularly well-known religion. And we haven't had a presidential candidate from a major party ticket as a Mormon in the past, so we're interested in whether or not it makes a difference. So if you look at those who are aware of Romney's Mormon faith, we find that a majority say that they're comfortable with his religion, and another 2 in 10 say that that religion doesn't matter to them one way or another. But that leaves about 2 in 10 saying they're uncomfortable with his faith.
And
white evangelical, I was just going to say, I mean, who's more uncomfortable? White evangelical Protestants tend to be more likely than other religious groups to say they're uncomfortable with Romney's faith. But most white evangelicals who are aware that Romney's a Mormon say they're comfortable with his faith.
And that, again, that seems to be part of a consensus, too. And, Carrie, I want to definitely keep this balanced. What does research say about how voters are reacting to President Obama's faith?
Sure. Views of President Obama's religion are quite different. About half of registered voters correctly identify him as a Christian. 3 in 10 are unsure of his faith, and 17% falsely identify him as a Muslim. That figure has gone up a little bit since 2008 with the growth in people falsely identifying him as a Muslim being most pronounced among conservative Republicans. Now, what's important there is that when it comes to comfort with Obama's faith, voters who know that Obama is a Christian are overwhelmingly comfortable with his faith. About 8 in 10 are comfortable, while a majority of those who say he's a Muslim are uncomfortable.
And Pew Forum on Religion and Public Life, always doing this research, always gathering data. I'm interested to know, are you in the process of collecting information now to determine the effect of adding Paul Ryan to the ticket and how that may affect Romney's appeal ahead of the election?
Yeah, I mean, this is what's interesting about the vice presidential candidates is that both are Catholic. And, of course, what's difficult to tease apart is that when you vote on Election Day, you're voting for a ticket, not for president separately from vice president. So it's sometimes hard to pull apart the effect of one person versus another.
You know, a separate Pew research released about a month ago found that voters have very little interest in learning more about Romney's religious beliefs. Now, in your experience conducting this research, have you ever found that opinions like the ones that you highlighted, in this case Mitt Romney's or even President Obama's faith, change radically the closer we get to Election Day?
I mean, what happens is one of the reasons why we're constantly conducting polls is that we're always aware there's potential for change over the course of the election. And in fact, historically, one of the big mistakes of the polling world is when they stop polling too soon ahead of the time. And so we're always sensitive to the possibility that real changes in the campaign will change people's attitudes and feelings towards the candidates.
All right, Carrie, we're going to have to leave it there. As we know, with opinions and elections, so much is subject to change and anything can happen. So we shall see in November. Thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure.
And be sure to stay with Currents for the latest on both party conventions. And don't go anywhere. There's more Currents ahead. Catholic dioceses and institutions take new action against the federal contraception mandate. We'll have that story and the rest of the day's headlines next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Liz Faublas. At a time when the political conventions are taking center stage, developments in another story that could impact the elections. Attorneys representing more than 40 Catholic dioceses and other institutions have filed briefs in the case against the federal contraception mandate. The briefs come in response to the federal government's call to have cases tossed. The administration argued that the suits were premature and the plaintiffs did not have standing to sue. The contraception mandate would require all private health plans, regardless of religious objections, to cover contraception, sterilization, and abortion-inducing drugs. In other news, Chicago Archbishop Cardinal Francis George will begin chemotherapy next week. According to a statement from the Archdiocese of Chicago, Cardinal George's treatment will begin next Wednesday. Test results confirmed that a nodule removed from the cardinal's liver contained cancerous cells. Cancer was also detected in the cardinal's kidney. It is Cardinal George's second battle with cancer. He underwent surgery in 2006 to remove his bladder, prostate, and part of a tube that connects the kidneys to the bladder. Earlier this year, Cardinal George submitted his resignation as Archbishop of Chicago to Pope Benedict after reaching the mandatory retirement age of 75. Pope Benedict has yet to indicate whether he has accepted the resignation. Well, the Vatileaks scandal continues to unfold, this time an unexpected and abrupt departure by one of the attorneys in the case. Rome Reports has more on that development.
The attorney for the Pope's butler, Carlo Fusco, has abruptly abandoned his case in defense of Paolo Gabriele against charges of leaking private documents in what has become known as Vatileaks. Fusco says his decision was based on differences over the line of defense. He is actually a childhood friend of Gabriele. Fusco says that even though he is leaving the case, the two will maintain their friendship. According to the Italian news agency ANSA, Cristina Aru, the second defense attorney in the case, is remaining for now, but there is a chance that she could also leave the defense of the Pope's butler.
And elsewhere, violence in Kenya's second-largest city. Protesters attacked 5 Protestant churches in Mombasa, killing a civilian and 3 police officers and injuring many more. The attacks came in response to the killing of a Muslim cleric on Monday. The National Council of Churches of Kenya strongly condemned the violence, saying that there was no logical connection between the cleric's murder and the churches that were attacked. Kenya is 25% Catholic, 45% Protestant, and 10% Muslim. The Latin bishops of the Arab region are expressing solidarity with Catholics and all Christians in Syria. In a letter to their Syrian counterpart and all Christians of Syria and the surrounding region, the bishops, quote, strongly condemn the escalating violence in the country. Violence has been ongoing in Syria ahead of Pope Benedict's visit to neighboring Lebanon next month. The Vatican says the Pope's trip will take place. And from Nigeria, a Catholic church in the southeast region of the country will ban women from wearing traditional head wraps. The ban at St. Teresa's Cathedral is being instituted because of security concerns. The church stated that the head wraps form a barricade when multiple women sit next to each other. A priest at the church says the head wraps also make identification difficult. The ban will go into effect on September 9th. Violence against Christians in Nigeria has been prevalent in the northern part of the country, where the Islamist group Boko Haram has carried out a string of deadly attacks. Well, an annual get-together for Pope Benedict and some of his former students. Rome Reports has the story.
At his summer vacation home in Castel Gandolfo, Benedict XVI is meeting with some of his former students from his days as a professor in Germany. It all started in 1970 when Joseph Ratzinger met with his doctoral students to share ideas and discussion on theology. It's something that has continued almost every year. This meeting will mark the 36th edition, and they have planned to discuss the Catholic Church's relations with Anglicans and Protestants. This year's participants includes Cardinal Christoph Schönborn from Vienna, the Swiss Cardinal Kurt Koch, who serves as president of the Pontifical Council for Promoting Christian Unity, as well as the German Cardinal Walter Kasper, a former president of the same council. He's someone that brings an intimate knowledge of the Lutheran faith to the meeting. The list also includes non-Catholics. The Protestant Ulrich Wilkins is a former student who studied under Ratzinger at the University of Regensburg, but went on to become a bishop in the Evangelical Lutheran Church. The meeting with former students is one of Joseph Ratzinger's few traditions that he has continued to carry out during his time as Pope. It's something that the participants look forward to almost every year as they look back on the many moments that they have shared over the years.
Stay tuned. There's more currents ahead. Coming up, it was a top 10 draw in theaters. Now For Greater Glory is coming to DVD. I'll talk with one of the actors. Welcome back. In its first weekend in theaters, it came in number 10 at the box office. May not seem like such a big return, but it is when you consider it did so with a lot less advertising and fewer screenings than the Hollywood blockbusters. For Greater Glory tells the story of the 1920s Cristero War, a people's revolt against the anti-Catholicism of the Mexican government. On September 11th, For Greater Glory will be released on DVD and Blu-ray. For more on the film, I spoke with actor Mauricio Curi, who plays the part of Blessed Jose Sanchez del Rio. Mauricio, first I want to say congratulations on the movie, on the success of the movie, and on your role in the movie. Tell us a little bit about the role you played in For Greater Glory.
Well, it was such a big honor to represent this character because he is such a brave boy. Mm-hmm. He was just 14 years old. I'm 15 right now, but while I was filming the movie, I was his age. So okay. I think I have this really cool connection with him, and it was awesome because there were some really cool experiences during the filming of this movie, and you could feel the vibe of God during the film process.
And Mauricio, I understand that you haven't been acting very long, but you know you had some acting parts. What was it about this role that really caught your attention? What was it most that helped you really identify with this character, Blessed Jose Sanchez?
Well, I think, well, I'm a Catholic since I was born, and I'm Mexican. So when I got the script and I started reading the script, I just couldn't believe what I was reading because this story wasn't known in Mexico. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to tell the people here in Mexico, and not only in Mexico but in the world, what happened in my country, because it was just a wonderful movie, and it was, well, not because of the movie, but it was such a wonderful war process that it wasn't known anywhere, and it's not in the textbooks here in Mexico.
And what are you doing to?
People didn't know about it.
I'm sorry to interrupt. What are you doing to spread the word, Mauricio? What is the lesson of the Cristiada for those who don't know anything about it? How have you been able to spread that message, not just with the movie and the upcoming DVD, I have to mention, but in your own way?
Well, with my friends and with my family and with all of the people that I meet every day, I just tell them about this young man and about his wonderful story. And I'm just being a good Catholic, because what I was saying the other interviewers is that you can be a Cristero nowadays, being a good Catholic and defending your religion today, because there's a lot of social pressure with friends and with a lot of people. And if you just stand up for what you believe and you defend what you believe and you're proud of saying, I'm Catholic and I take the consequences of being Catholic, because there's a lot of wars and there's a lot of stuff going around the world, you can make a change in people's hearts.
I appreciate that you are so mature about this, Mauricio, and the fact that you are speaking to your peers. Did you find that after they saw the movie and after they finally realized what a rich, tremendous history this was, that there were some changes in a lot of your friends and a lot of your family?
Yes, and also in the set, people in the set, they were atheists, filming the movie, and they changed to the Catholic religion filming because they saw stuff that it was unexplainable to see, and also because of José's story and because of Gorostiete's transformation and because of all of what happens during the movie. It was so big that people during the set, they changed of religion totally. And with my friends and family, my aunt, she told me that this young man from Aguascalientes in Mexico, he saw the movie and he was inspired in José's, in my role in the movie, because he was Catholic too, but now he wanted to be a priest, and now he is preparing himself to be a priest in Mexico.
Wow, that is
so there were some
wonderful.
really cool transformations and really awesome stories. So it's just amazing.
Mauricio, how do you now decide what other roles to take? Once you've played a role so critical and so very important to you in terms of your career, of course, but in terms of your spirituality and your growth, how do you now choose the roles that you're going to take from now on? And will they be a lot like this particular role?
Well, I think that, in acting, you need to transmit something, and it's emotions, and you need to transmit a message. I'm a Catholic, but I think in different. My favorite director was Alfred Hitchcock. Now he's dead, but I think his movies did a lot of emotions too in people, and it was some cool movies because it grabbed you in suspense and it grabbed you in mystery, and I love cinema. But what I want to do is to do movies in the future that leave some message in people's hearts, something about what is Eduardo Verástegui doing. That he is my friend too, and he just told me about picking specific projects that don't damage people's minds and hearts, because cinema is just another way of express yourself, and it's an art. So if you do bad stuff with it, then you're going to transmit bad stuff with it.
And Mauricio,
so you need to pick projects that leave something in people's hearts and soul.
And Mauricio, I'm afraid we are out of time. We could talk about this for so much more, but I want to extend my thanks to you and the rest of the cast for making this movie, for your wonderful role in the film, and for being quite an inspiration. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you. You too. Such a remarkable young man, Mauricio Curry from For Greater Glory, out on DVD and Blu-ray on September 11th. Stay tuned. There's more Currents ahead. When we return, Plant, Grow, Give. A program allows these residents to give back.
Today our Day Have program picked the vegetables from their garden and delivered them to Carlos Legacy in Hempstead. Carlos Legacy is an agency who helps people who need a little bit of help just coming back into society a little bit.
Plant, Grow, Give. That's the name of a program from Mercy Home, a residence with locations in Brooklyn and Queens that helps those who suffer developmental challenges to experience a good quality of life. Mercy Home created the Plant, Grow, Give program with the help of the College of Direct Support. Those who are developmentally challenged utilize their skill sets by planting gardens in their own backyard. They then collect the harvest and donate it to needy families in the community who are currently living in shelters or using food pantries as a primary source of food. We sent our cameras to Rosedale on Wednesday.
Here, Marcus, I got some more for you. You're doing good, Marcus. You're doing real good. See if there's more eggplants we can pick. I see a good one.
What we're really doing is a project called Plant, Grow, and Give, and it's an outgrowth of years of hard work on the part of the staff, and primarily gives the opportunity for the guys and the girls who we serve to give back to the community.
What's this?
And we've done it in an innovative and creative way.
No, show me what it is. Tell me. E-G-G-P-L-A-N-T. That's right, it's an eggplant. Let's put it in the basket right here. Put it in gently.
We're at Mercy Home Kevin Keating residence, and it's the hub for our Day Have program. Today our Day Have program picked the vegetables from their garden and delivered them to Carlos Legacy in Hempstead. Carlos Legacy is an agency who helps people who need a little bit of help just coming back into society a little bit. And we were very, very, very well received. They were thrilled to have our vegetables, and they really, really like our guys a lot. And that's just, it was very heartwarming.
Give me a hug. I gotta give you a hug like we always do. How you doing, Marcus? Danny Jones,
who is one of the people who comes to us from Island Harvest and graces us with his presence and his little gifts that he grows in the garden. He really lightens up our day, Dan. We work very hard. We need some kind of boost like we get from Daniel when he shows up.
that's your eggplant. We made eggplant parmesan.
My relationship with Danny and Maurice is they are my produce guys. And anybody who knows the trends of cooking and restaurateuring now, it's farm to table. And I basically get stuff from Danny and Maurice that comes out of the ground 2 hours before I use it.
Because of Danny and his growing vegetables and him devoting his time, he helps us feed about 85 people a day. Right? Right. He's a wonderful guy. And so is Marcus. And we're very grateful that we met them. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Plant, Grow, and Give is not just something that happened overnight. It's a project and a program that was developed in concert with staff at all levels and with the people that we serve. What we want to do is think out of the box so that the individuals, whether it's Marcus or Danny or Ricky or Teresa over at Santulli Residence, we want them to feel successful in the community. We want them to feel the same kind of pride that we feel when we do something good for someone else. And Plant, Grow, and Give really is a way of doing that.
Everybody's proud of you, Dan. We love to see you. You're terrific. We look forward to seeing Danny Jones. And when Danny Jones doesn't come, we're like, you know, where's Danny Jones?
And that is all for tonight. Coming up on Friday, a roundup of the week, including a look back at the Republican National Convention. Until then, be sure to visit us online at currentsny.net, and you can also connect with us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Liz Faublas. We leave you tonight with more from Mercy Home's Plant, Grow, Give program. Thank you for watching, and have a good night.